His only rule was simple: don't lie to me. The last assistant broke it and was gone in 6 days. Sofia still took the job, not because she was fearless, but because she was drowning in debt, and desperation doesn't negotiate. She expected a normal office. What she got was the top floor of a glass penthouse, and a man who looked like he'd never been told no in his life. Damien Voss, 36, billionaire, untouchable. He didn't greet her, didn't smile, didn't even pretend to be polite. He just looked at her, the way people look at investments, deciding if she was worth the risk. "You're younger than I expected," he said. Sofia didn't hesitate. "You're colder than I expected." That's when something changed. Not anger, something worse. Interest. "Don't be late," he said finally. "And don't lie to me. Those are the only 2 rules." "What happened to the last assistant?" "She lied to me." "About what?" His eyes held hers for just a moment longer than necessary. "About small things," he said. "People who lie about small things always lie about large ones eventually." "I don't wait to find out which." Sofia nodded slowly. "And if I disagree with you, I expect you to. And if I'm right." Something moved at the corner of his mouth, quite a smile. The ghost of the idea of a smile from a man who'd given up practicing. "Then I'll tell you," he said. Once, she took the job. The first week was a test she didn't know she was taking. Impossible timelines, conflicting instructions. Problems dropped in her lap with no context, and the clear expectation that context was something she should manufacture herself. She made mistakes too in the first week, both caught before they became problems. Both addressed with the specific economy of a man who didn't waste energy on anger. "This is wrong," he said on Wednesday, sliding a document back across his desk without looking up. "I know," she said. "I fixed it. That's the old version. I printed both so you could see what I changed and why." He looked up then. She held his gaze without fidgeting. He picked up the corrected document, read it, set it down. "Don't print the wrong version again," he said. "I won't." That was all. But she caught at the fractional pause before he looked back at his screen. The almost imperceptible recalibration. She'd done something he hadn't expected, filed it somewhere. She learned his rhythms, the way you learn a difficult piece of music through repetition and error, and the specific frustration of getting it almost right. He didn't eat before noon, didn't sleep before 2 a.m., took his coffee black, and never acknowledged it when she placed it on his desk, which she'd initially taken for rudeness until she realized gratitude for expected things felt performative to him. When she did something genuinely unexpected, he noticed. The acknowledgement was small, a look, a pause, a word, but it was real, and she found herself, embarrassingly, working for those moments. She learned other things too. Things he didn't intend to teach. That he had a habit of standing at the floor-to-ceiling windows in the early evening, his hands in his pockets, watching the city with an expression that wasn't satisfaction or pride, but something quieter and more troubling. Like a man surveying everything he'd built and trying to remember why. That he kept a photograph in his desk drawer, face down, that he never looked at and never moved. That he had a tail barely visible, only if you were watching when something bothered him. His right hand would close slowly into a fist at his side and then open again, like he was gripping something and releasing it, like he was practicing. She watched all of this and said nothing, and he noticed that she watched. She could tell by the way he sometimes caught her eye from across the room with an expression that said, "I know what you're doing," and something underneath that said, "Don't stop." On the 15th day, she found the photograph. She wasn't snooping. The drawer had stuck when she was reorganizing at his request, and when she forced it, the photo slid forward. A woman, dark-haired, striking, laughing at something outside the frame, and Damien younger, jaws softer, with an expression she'd never seen on him. Unguarded, open, happy in a way that looked unfamiliar on his face. She placed it face down exactly as it had been. That evening he came back to the office late and found her still at her desk. He stopped in the doorway and looked at her. She knew by the quality of his stillness that he already knew. "You looked," he said. "The drawer stuck." "Wasn't." "I know." He walked to the window, stood with his back to her. Her name was Claire. Sofia said nothing. "She didn't die," he said. "She just left, which I've been told is easier." A pause. "Date. It isn't." "Why did she leave?" A long silence. "Because I gave her everything except my time." "And time," he said quietly, "turns out to be the only thing that actually means anything to someone who loves you." Sofia felt something shift in her chest. "Do you still love her?" He turned then, at her directly. "No," he said, "but I still haven't forgiven myself." To Kate, "Those aren't the same thing, and I used to confuse them." "What's the difference?" He considered this seriously. "Loving someone is about them," he said. "Tease. Not forgiving yourself is about you. One of them you can do something about." She looked at him across the room. "Have you," she asked, "done something about it?" He held her gaze for a moment, then looked back at the city. "Go home, Sofia." She went, but she carried his answer with her, not the words, but the silence where the answer should have been. The weeks that followed were a specific kind of torture. He started finding reasons to keep her later. Real reasons she wasn't foolish enough to think he was manufacturing them. But there was a new quality to the way he used her time. A shift from "execute this" to "think through this with me." He started asking her opinions on things outside her job description. Market strategy, negotiation approach. Once, memorably, whether he should apologize to someone he'd been publicly cold to at a board meeting. "You were wrong," she told him. "Not about the strategy, about the way you said it in front of people." He needed to hear it. He did. "But you took something from him when you said it in front of the room. You could have been right and still done it differently." Silence. "You think I owe him an apology?" "I think you know you do, and you're asking me so someone else carries the weight of the answer." A longer silence. "You're annoying," he said. "You asked," she said. He apologized to the man the next morning. He never told her he did. She found out from someone else and said nothing about it, and somehow that the not saying felt more intimate than if she had. He looked at her differently after that. Not obviously. Nothing about Damien Voss was obvious, but there were small seismic shifts. She tracked the way you tracked weather, a longer pause before he looked away. A new quality of attention when she spoke, an awareness between them that had stopped being professional and become something neither of them was naming out loud. One evening, late, she was at her desk finishing a report when she felt him stop behind her chair. She didn't turn around. "You haven't left," he said. "I'm almost done. It's 9 o'clock. I'm aware." Silence. She could feel him standing there, not doing anything, not speaking. Just present in the specific way he was present when he was thinking something he hadn't decided whether to say. "Have you eaten?" he asked. She paused mid-sentence. "No," she admitted. Another silence. "I'll order something." He walked away. She stared at her screen for a moment before she could remember what she'd been writing. They ate at the conference table at 9:15 on a Thursday. Chinese food in containers between them. talking not about work for the first time, about nothing in particular and everything underneath it. He asked about her family. She asked about his. He answered with the same economy he applied to everything specific, precise, no excess. Were you close? She asked. With your father. He was a good teacher. Damien said. That's not what I asked. He looked at her. No, he said. We weren't close. He built things, and I watched and learned and thought that was the same as love for a long time. He picked up his chopsticks. It isn't. What is? She asked. Love. What do you think it actually is? He was quiet for a moment, paying attention. He said, actual attention, not performing it, not giving someone what you think they need while you're already thinking about the next thing. His eyes held hers, being present with someone even when it's uncomfortable. Especially then, Sofia was very still. That's a specific answer, she said. I had a long time to figure it out, he said. After the fact, they looked at each other across the Chinese food containers, and the city glittered behind him, 53 floors below. She reached across the table without thinking. Her hand covered his. He went completely still, looked down at their hands, then up at her face. Sofia, I see you, she said quietly. I know you think no one does, but I do. His hand turned under hers, palm to palm, fingers lacing through hers slowly, deliberately, like he was testing whether she'd pull away. She didn't. They sat there for a long moment, hands joined across empty takeout containers, the city moving below them, neither of them speaking. Finally, he squeezed her hand once, then let go. You should go home, he said, voice rough. Damien, please. He wasn't looking at her. I need you to go home. She understood. Asterisk, asterisk, if she stayed, something would happen that neither of them was ready for. Asterisk, asterisk, she went. It happened on a Thursday. A crisis with the European acquisition, the kind that cascaded at 11 p.m. and required everyone in the building. By 2 a.m., it was just them. Damien on the phone for 40 minutes, pacing the conference room with leashed intensity. Sofia at the table, tracking numbers, flagging inconsistencies, passing him information in the exact moment he reached for it. They'd developed a rhythm she hadn't noticed until tonight, watching it work under pressure. When it was over, he stood at the head of the table, and the silence after the call was different from regular silence. Heavier. He looked at her. She looked back, and something in her face must have shown the exhaustion. The adrenaline still metabolizing, something she hadn't managed to put away in time. Thank you, he said. She blinked. In 6 weeks, he had never said those 2 words to her. Hearing it now, low and direct and completely genuine, did something to her she hadn't prepared for. It's my job, she said. No, he said. It was your job to stay until midnight. You stayed until 3. He paused. That's not a job, it's a choice. She held his gaze. I wanted to see how it ended, she said, and I wanted to make sure you were okay. The room was very quiet. Damien crossed to the conference table slowly and sat on the edge of it, 1 foot on the floor, close to where she was sitting, not looming something else. Coming down to her level deliberately, looking at her from a distance that was no longer professional, and they both knew it. Sofia, he said, her name in his mouth, careful and low. Yes. He reached out, slowly giving her every second to move, to change her mind. His hand found her jaw, thumb at her cheekbone. The first, truly unguarded touch from a man who had been touch-proof for 4 years. She turned her face into his hand without thinking. He exhaled like something had been released. "I need to say something," he said quietly. "Okay, and I need you to tell me if I've misread this. 'Cause He stopped. His jaw tightened. "I have been wrong before about what someone felt, and it cost me." Her chest ached. She reached up, covered his hand with hers, held it against her face. "You haven't misread it," she said quietly. Something moved through his face. Relief so brief and controlled she almost missed it. "I want you," he said. No preamble, no performance. Not briefly. Not, he exhaled slowly. I'm not interested in something simple with you. I don't think I'm capable of it anymore. What are you capable of? He looked at her for a long moment. Showing up, he said. Actually showing up. Every day. I know I failed at that once. God. His voice was rough. I don't want to fail at it again. Not with you. She stood, stepped between his knees where he sat on the edge of the table. His hands found her waist, automatically, like they'd been waiting for permission. I need to tell you something, she said. He waited. I haven't. She held his gaze. I've never been with anyone. Not like this. Damien went very still. She felt the shift, and something in her braced for it. He didn't pull back. His hands tightened on her waist. Why are you telling me that like it's a warning? He said quietly. Because it is. Because I don't know what I'm doing. And you've done this before, and I haven't. Sofia. He pulled her closer. Look at me. She looked. I am not looking for someone who knows what they're doing, he said. I have been surrounded my entire adult life by people who know exactly what they're doing. Something raw moved through his voice. I am looking for someone who is honest, who tells me the truth even when it's uncomfortable. His forehead touched hers. You told me something real just now, he whispered. Oh, most people wouldn't. That's not privacy. That's distance. Adaya have had enough distance. Sofia looked at him, this impossible, careful, devastating man, and kissed him, pulled him down to her and kissed him like she'd been wanting to for weeks. He froze for half a second. Then his hands were in her hair and he was kissing her back like he'd been dying to, a lie he'd been holding back for months and couldn't anymore. They broke apart, breathing hard. That was, she started. A terrible idea, he finished. Probably the worst. Definitely against company policy. He kissed her again, softer this time, slower, like he was memorizing the shape of her mouth. When he pulled back, his thumb brushed her lower lip. I should quit, she whispered. Please don't. His arms came around her. But if this is what you want, you probably should. Transfer departments at minimum. She buried her face in his neck, toted him shudder. What if I don't want to quit? Then we do this right. HR, full disclosure, transfer so there's no direct reporting relationship. And if they say no, he pulled back to look at her, cupped her face in both hands. Then I stepped back. Because I won't risk your career for this. His thumb brushed her cheek. You're too important. Something cracked open in her chest. She kissed him again and again until they were both shaking. They didn't plan it. One moment they were standing in the conference room kissing like the world was ending. The next, he was pulling her down the hall to his office, closing the door, locking it, turning to face her with an expression she'd never seen, all the control gone, everything raw and visible. Tell me to stop, he said, voice rough. If you want me to stop, tell me now. She crossed to him. started unbuttoning his shirt. I don't want you to stop. He caught her hands. Sofia, I need you to be sure. I am sure. She looked up at him. I've been sure since you held my hand across a table full of Chinese food and looked at me like I mattered. Something broke in his expression. He kissed her, not gentle, not careful. Kissed her like a man who'd been holding back for months and couldn't anymore. His hands found the zipper of her skirt. Can I? He breathed against her mouth. Yes, Sofia. He pulled back to look at her. I need to make love to you. The words deliberate, specific, made her knees weak. Then do it, she whispered. He didn't rush. She'd expected efficiency. The same focused precision he applied to everything. He was precise, but he was also present, squashing her face with that dark, complete attention, glazing questions with his hands before asking them with words, learning her, treating the whole of her like something he genuinely wanted to understand. You're thinking? He said against her hair at some point. I'm always thinking. Stop, he said. How? He showed her. She stopped thinking. Afterward, she lay against his chest in the dark of his office, and his hand moved slowly through her hair. The silence between them was the companionable kind. I didn't plan this, he said quietly. I know. He tilted her face up, kissed her forehead, her nose, her mouth. Soft, reverent. I want to be honest with you about something, he said. I don't know how to do this carefully. I know how to want things and move toward them and not stop until I have them. But I don't want to do that with you. Sofia turned to look at him. His face in the dark was open in a way she'd never seen it. That's the most frightening thing you've said to me, she told him. Why? Because it means you're actually trying, she said. Okay, and people who are actually trying can actually fail. He looked at her. Yes, he said simply. They can. Are you afraid of that? A long pause. Yes. He pulled her closer, arms tight around her. Like a decision, she put her head back on his chest, her hand over his heart. Me too, she said. He kissed the top of her head and held her like he was afraid she'd disappear. She woke up on the couch in his office, wrapped in his suit jacket, his arms around her, sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. She turned carefully, tated him. He was already awake, watching her. Hi, she whispered. Hi. His hand came up, brushed hair from her face. How do you feel? Good. Really good. No regrets. Not even one. He exhaled, looked her closer, kissed her slowly, thoroughly, like he had all the time in the world. When he pulled back, she was breathless. I need to tell you something, he said. Okay. His thumb traced her lower lip. Last night wasn't. He stopped. I don't want you to think that was casual for me. It wasn't casual for me either. He kissed her again, softer. Good, he said against her mouth. It's 'cause I'm in love with you. Her breath caught. You what? I'm in love with you. He said it again, clearer. I have been since you told me I was wrong about that board member, and I should apologize. That was 6 weeks ago. I know. She pulled him down, kissed him hard. I love you too, she whispered. A careful, devastating man. He smiled against her mouth, really smiled. And Sofia realized she'd never seen that before, never seen him happy. It was the most beautiful thing she'd ever witnessed. She transferred departments, director of strategy, different floor. No reporting relationship to Damien whatsoever. HR approved everything with conditions. They'd agreed to all of it. because it was worth it. The best part of her day became the moment he'd appear at her office door at lunch. "Busy?" he'd ask. "Always. Too busy for me." She'd smile, close her laptop. He'd pull her up, kiss her against her desk. Slow, thorough, like he'd been waiting all morning for it. "I missed you," he'd murmur against her mouth. "You saw me 3 hours ago." "I know. Still missed you." They were careful at work, professional. But sometimes she'd pass him in the hallway and his hand would brush hers, just for a second. Sometimes he'd catch her eye across a conference room, and the look would say everything they couldn't say out loud. Sometimes he'd text her at 2 a.m., "Can't sleep, come over," and she'd find him on his terrace, looking at the city. And she'd wrap her arms around him from behind and he'd cover her hands with his, and they'd stand there in silence until the world felt manageable again. One evening she found him in his office late, standing at the window, hands in his pockets. That expression she'd learned to recognize, the one that meant he was thinking about Claire. She didn't say anything, crossed to him, slid her arms around his waist from behind, rested her cheek against his back. He covered her hands with his. "I was just thinking," he said quietly, "about her. About how I almost didn't place that ad for the assistant position." He turned in her arms, looked down at her. "I'd decided to consolidate, hire a firm, handle things remotely. Why didn't you?" He cupped her face. "I don't know. I wanted someone in the room. I was tired of everything being remote." He paused. "I didn't know I was asking for you. I thought I was asking for an assistant." She stood on her toes, kissed him softly. "You were terrible to work for," she said. "I know. The first week I went home and cried." His arms tightened around her. "I'm sorry. Don't be. I stayed anyway." "Why?" She considered this honestly. "Because you were the most awake person I'd ever met," she said, "even when you were being impossible." She touched his face. "There was so much home in you. I just had to figure out how to knock." He kissed her, soft at first, then deeper, walked her backward until her back hit the window. "You didn't knock," he said against her mouth. "No. You walked in and sat down and acted like you'd always been there." She smiled. Was that wrong? His forehead touched hers, arms around her, the city glittering below. "No," he said. It was exactly right. She came home to find him on the terrace. Their terrace now. She'd moved in 3 months ago. He was standing at the railing, looking at the city. She wrapped her arms around him from behind. He covered her hands with his, brought them to his lips. "I have a question," he said. "Okay." He turned in her arms and dropped to one knee. Her breath stopped. "Sofia." He pulled out a small box, opened it. "I spent 4 years building walls, being alone, telling myself it was preference, when really it was just fear." His voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly. "Then you walked into my office and looked at me like I was just a person, not a concept, not a name on a building, just me." He took her hand. "You taught me what it means to show up, to be present, to love someone with actual attention instead of just proximity." Tears streamed down her face. "You saved me, Sofia, not from loneliness, from accepting loneliness as permanent." He slid the ring on her finger. "Will you marry me?" She pulled him up, kissed him through tears. "Yes," she whispered against his mouth. "Yes, yes, yes." He lifted her, spun her, kissed her like the world was ending and she was the only thing keeping him anchored. When he set her down, they were both crying. "I love you," he said. "I love you too, even though I was terrible to work for." She laughed, especially because of that. He kissed her again, and the city moved below them, permanent and indifferent, while they built something that wasn't.